Hey you, welcome to the deep dive. You're here because you want to get smart, fast, and that's exactly what we're about today. Today we're going to unlock, well, maybe not unlock secrets, but definitely explore everyday English conversations. We've got a really fascinating source. It's a transcript from a YouTube video.
Right.
And our mission, our goal, is to really dig into the common slang and, the informal language that native speakers use pretty much all the time.
Yeah, the stuff you don't always find in textbooks.
Exactly. Think of it as like your shortcut to understanding the real English, the kind that's actually spoken out there. Okay, so let's dive right into our first scenario. It's all about getting ready for dinner. Sounds simple, right?
It does, but it's packed with this everyday language. It kicks off super simply, we need to get a few things for dinner.
Right, total normal start.
And the kid replies, "What do we need, Dad?" Just a classic everyday family interaction.
Yeah.
But what's interesting, I think, right off the bat is how even for these really basic actions, we tend to use these very casual verbs. Like the implied question, can you grab the potatoes?
Grab. Yeah.
Grab here isn't like a forceful thing, is it? It's just a quick, informal way of saying get.
Totally. It suggests they're comfortable, familiar with each other. Easy.
Exactly. It's efficient.
Right. Like we both know what getting potatoes involves, so why use a fancy word? We just use this like shorthand.
Precisely.
And then straight away we get this instruction to bounce over to the produce section. Now, bounce over, that's much more, vivid than just saying go to.
It really is. It gives you this mental image, doesn't it, of like quick, light movement, almost springy.
Yeah. It adds a bit of maybe playfulness to just a simple request. Like a parent's trying to make a boring chore a little bit more engaging, perhaps.
That's a great point, the playfulness. And it also speaks to the energy, right? Bounce definitely implies a certain lightness, a certain speed, which fits perfectly with the follow-up, well, don't take too long.
Yeah.
That reinforces the need for speed.
Yeah, don't dawdle.
And then, boom, another item. We need to grab the milk, too. There's that grab again.
See, it's definitely a go-to.
It becomes really clear that in this sort of casual family setting, for simple acts of just getting something, retrieving something, grab, is, it's the default verb. It's just part of the natural flow.
It really highlights how certain words just become, like, automatic in these everyday chats. And the kid's response, got it, Dad. I won't be long. That's just as informal. Got it. Super quick way to say, I understand.
Absolutely. Faster than I understand.
And won't be long is just that shortened, casual way of saying, I will not take a long time. Even the contraction won't, instead of will not. That's totally typical of how we actually speak.
Oh, completely. It's all about efficiency, isn't it?
Yeah.
And just ease of communication.
Yeah, keeping it simple.
Absolutely. Then the list goes on. And make sure you pick up the eggs. Now here, the parent shifts to pick up.
Oh yeah, interesting. Not grab.
Still common, still informal, but maybe, like you said, slightly more formal than grab. Perhaps because eggs are a bit delicate. You don't want to grab eggs too hard.
Good point. Or maybe it's just, natural variation. People don't always use the exact same word every single time.
That's very true. And what's interesting is the child's response, yeah, I'll grab them. They switch back to grab.
Oh, they do?
Yeah. It shows how kids especially often sort of mirror or adapt to the language they're hearing, but maybe stick with what feels most natural or common to them.
That's subtle, but yeah, that's a really good point. Parent says, pick up. Child defaults back to grab. Like they're finding their own level of informality.
Exactly. And then there's another reminder, right? Don't forget the bread too. Again, don't forget, pretty standard phrase, isn't it? For just jogging someone's memory.
Super standard. It's direct, but still, gentle enough in this context. Not like a harsh command.
Precisely. It's just making sure all the bases are covered, without sounding too demanding or bossy. And this prompts a slightly more maybe resistant response from the child. I won't, Dad. Don't stress. I'll be back in a second.
Don't stress. That's a great one.
Isn't it? It's just short for don't worry. And it's so common, especially I find among younger people talking to maybe slightly anxious parents.
Definitely. And I'll be back in a second. That's usually a bit of an exaggeration, right? It just means really soon.
Oh, absolutely. It's emphasis. It means a very short amount of time, not literally 60 seconds. Yeah. It's the child reassuring the parent, maybe with, like you said, a little hint of playful impatience creeping in.
Yeah, like, okay, I get it. Then the parent pushes back slightly. Fine, just hurry up. We don't want to be here all day. That definitely ramps up the urgency.
It does. Hurry up is very direct.
Yeah.
a common command when you want someone to move faster.
For sure. And the child's reply, super enthusiastic. Don't worry, I'm on it. Catch you later. That's just packed, isn't it?
Totally packed. I'm on it, meaning like I'm already dealing with it. I'm handling it. Very proactive.
Yeah, consider it done.
And catch you later.
Yeah.
Such a classic, casual way to say goodbye.
Very breezy.
It implies, a quick departure, but you expect to see them again soon. It's friendly, much less formal than a full goodbye.
Definitely. And then the parent gets the last word in, almost. You sure you don't need help? Which is nice, actually. Even after pushing for speed, there's still that, underlying care. Are you okay doing this?
That's right. That parental instinct kicking in.
Absolutely. And the final word in this whole little errand exchange, the child's simple, I'm good.
So concise.
Isn't it? Just means I'm fine, I'm capable, I don't need any help. Very efficient.
So yeah, in just maybe a minute of dialogue about getting dinner things, we've already hit a whole range of informal language.
For sure. Verbs like grab and bounce, slang like don't stress, casual goodbyes like catch you later, quick assurances like I'm on it and I'm good.
It really gives you a taste, doesn't it, of how relaxed and efficient everyday English can be, especially within a family setting.
It really does. And it sets the stage perfectly for how we often talk in familiar situations using these kinds of linguistic shortcuts. They build connection, understanding.
Yeah, without needing, long formal explanations for everything. It works.
Okay, so the conversation takes a bit of a sharp turn here, doesn't it? We shift from the everyday task of dinner prep to something, well, a bit heavier.
Yeah, definitely a mood shift. The parent asks pretty directly, so what happened today? Why did you get suspended?
Whoa. Yeah, that's a big question. You can just feel the concern behind it.
Absolutely. And notice the child's immediate reaction. It's to minimize. It was just a little scuffle. No big deal, Mom.
Scuffle. That's an interesting word choice right there.
It is. It's definitely a less serious term than, say, fight. It suggests something maybe brief, a bit disorganized, not like a planned, serious confrontation.
Right, and pairing it with no big deal. That's such a common phrase for downplaying something, isn't it? Especially when you think you might be in trouble.
Oh, totally. It's like a shield, a preemptive defense mechanism. Don't overreact. It wasn't that bad.
But the parent, naturally, isn't buying the minimization. Scuffle, what are you talking about?
Yeah, they pick up on that attempt to soften it. And then the other parent jumps in, maybe recognizing the strategy, and clarifies, he means a fight.
Ah, okay. So one parent uses the child's word. The other translates it into something more serious.
That shows how perspective matters, right? Absolutely. The second parent uses the more direct, more serious term, fight, which immediately, raises the stakes, makes it sound more significant.
Yeah. And the child then has to concede, but still tries to minimize.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was nothing, just a small thing.
Still trying to keep it contained. It's a classic tactic, really. Trying to avoid the full force of parental disapproval by insisting the event wasn't, really that important. Don't worry too much.
But of course, the parents are worried. They're not letting it go. You can hear it in the questions. A fight. What were you thinking?
Exactly. The concern is obvious.
And the child keeps pushing back. It wasn't even that serious. You can just feel the tension ratcheting up here. Parents worried, child deflecting.
Absolutely. And then we get to a really key piece of informal language related to fighting. I just threw down because he was messing with me.
Threw down. Okay, that's slang.
Definitely slang.
Yeah.
A very casual, informal way of saying they got into a physical fight. And the source itself actually clarifies this right after, doesn't it?
Yeah, the parent asks, threw down, and then clarifies, you mean you actually hit him?
Right. Which confirms that threw down means, engaging in a physical fight. It's not something you'd say in a police report, for instance.
Oh, no, definitely not. It sounds very kind of impulsive, like it just happened.
It does, and the justification comes immediately. Yeah, but only because he kept bugging me. It's not like I just started it.
Bugging, that's another really common informal verb. Just means annoying someone, bothering them repeatedly.
Exactly, and the child's using it here to frame their actions as a response, right? As a reaction to being provoked. He started it by bugging me. It's a way of shifting blame.
Yeah, trying to establish I wasn't the aggressor.
But the parent's response is short, sharp, and full of disappointment. I can't believe you.
Oof. Yeah, that's a classic parent reaction, isn't it? Hearing your kid got into a fight, regardless of who started what, just an initial shock and disapproval.
Very common. The why almost doesn't matter in that first moment.
Right. And then the actual reason for the fight finally surfaces. I couldn't let him roast me like that.
Okay, another fantastic piece of slang. Roast.
And the parent is immediately confused. Roast? What's that supposed to mean? Which, again, signals that maybe they're not familiar with the specific term. Another generational language gap moment.
Exactly. We saw it with fire, now with roast. It really highlights how quickly slang evolves and spreads, especially among younger groups.
Yeah. The child then has to explain it. Make fun of me. It's what he was doing.
So to roast someone, in this slang sense, means, to tease them, make jokes at their expense, often in a critical or mocking way. It can range from friendly banter to actually quite mean insults.
And in this case, it sounds like the child felt it was definitely the mean kind. It crossed a line.
Seems that way. But the parent's immediate response is back to the core issue. That's not an excuse for fighting. You should have just walked away.
Right, reinforcing that standard advice. Avoid physical fights if you can. Conflict resolution 101 from a parent's perspective.
Exactly. But the child defends their actions again. I tried, but he wouldn't back off. He was all up in my face.
Okay, wouldn't back off. That's very common, very clear. Means the other person refused to stop, refused to disengage.
And he was all up in my face. That's super informal, but very visual, isn't it?
It really is.
It paints a picture of someone being extremely close, confrontational, maybe threatening, like invading your personal space aggressively.
Yeah.
Really ramps up the tension of the description.
We can almost picture it, yeah. A very uncomfortable, maybe intimidating situation.
Not sure. But the parent holds firm. Well, I don't care what he did. You shouldn't have done that. Sticking to the principle, fighting was the wrong response.
Right. The disapproval of the violence is paramount, at least in that moment.
And the child finally seems to accept some responsibility, saying, I get it, Dad. I messed up.
Messed up. Another very common, informal way to admit you did something wrong, made a mistake.
Yeah, much less formal than I made an error or I apologize for my actions.
Yeah.
It carries that sense of acknowledging fault, but casually. And the father wraps up this part of the chat with a clear expectation. You better learn to handle things differently next time. It's direct advice, but also kind of a warning, isn't it?
It is. Don't do this again. So yeah, this whole exchange, even though it's about a pretty serious topic, getting suspended for fighting, it's just full of the kind of informal language and slang you hear in everyday family talks.
Absolutely. It really gives us insight into how families navigate these kinds of, difficult conversations. The language stays relatively informal, even when the subject matter is serious.
It does. It's a good reminder that closeness often means informality, even when things are tense. Okay, well, thankfully, the conversation shifts gears again, moving to something much lighter and happier.
Yeah, welcome change of pace.
We see a transition towards excitement about a family event. The parent says, all right, we're almost there. I'm pretty stoked for Grandma's party. And bang, there's our first piece of slang, stoked.
Yes, stoked. And it's amazing how much excitement is just packed into that one little word. The context makes it clear it's a very positive feeling.
Totally.
Stoked. Just a great example of how slang can be really expressive. Add color. It means very excited, thrilled, really looking forward to something. It's got this real energy, this anticipation baked into it.
Absolutely. Way more punch than just saying, I'm excited.
And the excitement is shared. The other parent agrees. I know it's going to be fun. I think she'll love the surprise cake. Simple, positive agreement.
Right. But then the child jumps in to describe the cake itself as totally fire.
And here we go again. Back to slang and those potential generational misunderstandings.
Yep. The parent's immediate reaction says it all. Dad, fire! Seriously! It just perfectly highlights that gap. The parent clearly doesn't get this meaning of fire as, high praise.
It's a perfect little snapshot of how slang evolves and how different age groups might not always be using the same playbook, linguistically speaking.
For sure. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
The child then tries to explain it. Why? It's a thing. People say it when something's really great.
Which is a pretty good, concise definition, actually.
It is. And it's interesting how the child just states it like it's common knowledge, it's a thing, which, within their peer group, it probably is.
Exactly. And then comes a slightly more detailed explanation, adding some nuance. No, Dad, fire is used to talk about something really cool, like a song or a party, not a cake for Grandma.
Ah, okay. So it's not just good. There's a specific type of good.
That's what the child seems to be suggesting. While fire means excellent or impressive, maybe it's more suited for things that are, trendy, exciting in a modern way. perhaps less fitting for a traditional grandma's birthday cake.
That's a really interesting point. Slang isn't always a universal positive adjective. The context, the thing being described, really matters.
Precisely. And the parents' follow-up. Wait, so you're telling me the cake isn't fire? It sounds like they're genuinely trying to grasp this rule, maybe even teasing a little bit.
Yeah, like, so my cake appraisal skills are off. It feels good-natured.
It does. And the child's gentle correction, no, Mom, cake is just cake, brings a bit of humor back. It clarifies things, highlights the slight misunderstanding, but also shows the parent trying to engage, which is nice.
It's a sweet little moment, yeah. That intergenerational communication dance.
Mm-hmm. And the conversation then slides smoothly into another slang term when the child says, forget about the cake. I can't wait to show up and totally flex.
And again, the parent's like, hold on, flex, what do you mean by that? Just reinforcing how quickly these terms pop up and how parents might not always be, current.
Yep. The slang treadmill, the child's first explanation is pretty general, show off a little, make an impression. That gives the basic idea, displaying something to get attention or admiration.
Right, the core meaning.
But then the parent adds their understanding, which is maybe more specific or traditional. Dad, people use flex for showing off muscles or your style, suggesting a more physical or appearance-based kind of showing off.
Okay, so this really highlights how slang terms can have, like, layers of meaning or how they evolve. What maybe started with muscles can broaden out to showing off other things, like status or achievements.
Exactly. Or maybe the parent's understanding is just slightly outdated or more literal.
Could be. And then the parent gets a little self-conscious, which is quite endearing. You're not going to show off at grandma's, are you? Should I do that?
It's sweet, isn't it? Trying to connect, trying to understand if they should be flexing, even if they don't fully get the nuance. It's a bit awkward, but comes from a good place.
Totally. And the child's response is perfect, just gentle redirection. Oh, please don't, Dad. Just be yourself. Fine, fine.
Yeah. It's a nice way of saying, you don't need to try so hard, Dad. Just be you. It reassures them that authenticity is better than forced slang.
Exactly. This whole section is just a wonderful little window into the kind of humorous side of families trying to bridge that language gap.
The love, the slight awkwardness, the constant negotiation of meaning, it's all there.
It really is. Okay, moving on. Next up, we have a request involving another piece of slang, the request to crash at a friend's house.
Right. The child asks, Mom, can I crash at Jake's house tonight?
And cue the parental confusion.
Predictably. Crash. What do you mean by that? Clearly unfamiliar with that specific usage.
Yeah. And crash here, it just means sleepover, right? Spend the night.
Exactly. Which the child clarifies. Sleep over, spend the night. It highlights how slang can offer a shorter, maybe punchier way to say something common.
And the parent's reaction is perfectly logical if you don't know the slang. Oh, okay. But why didn't you just say that?
Yeah, the parental preference for clarity often bumps up against the child's desire to use the cooler, more current term.
And the child basically admits it. I thought it'd be cooler if I said crash. Everyone says that. That really hits the nail on the head about why people use slang.
It really does. It's often about social belonging, isn't it? Fitting in. Projecting a certain kind of image within your peer group using the in-group language?
Totally. It's a social marker. And the parent's slightly skeptical take, well, it's not exactly what I would call cool, just shows that cool is definitely subjective.
And often generational. What's cool to a teenager might sound silly to a parent and vice versa.
For sure. Then the parent shifts into practical mode, the responsible adult. So what are you going to do at Jake's?
Standard question. And the child's answer is simple, using another common informal phrase. Well, we're just going to hang out and play video games.
Hang out. We've seen that one before. Just casual, relaxed time together. No big agenda.
Exactly. Purely social, relaxed. And then comes the inevitable parental boundary setting about bedtime. You better not stay up too late.
Yep. Gotta have rules.
And a child's reassurance brings in another slang term. Don't worry, Mom. We'll just chill and go to bed around midnight. So here's chill, again, used as a verb, meaning relax, take it easy.
Right. And the parent checks their understanding. Chill. You mean relax, right?
Yeah. Seeking that confirmation.
And the child confirms, yeah, pretty much. The parents reply, I see. It shows them kind of accepting it, right? Actively trying to understand and roll with the kid's language, even if it's not their own.
It does. It shows that effort to bridge the gap. And the questioning continues, naturally, with worries about behavior. And you're not going to get into any trouble, right?
Another standard parent worry.
Absolutely. And the child's emphatic denial, no way, we'll just stay in and have fun, uses that informal expression, no way. For a strong, absolutely not.
Yeah, no way feels stronger, more definitive somehow than just no.
It does. It carries more weight in its informality. So the parent gives conditional permission. Well, I guess it's fine, but don't act up while you're there.
Act up. That's a good one. Common informal phrasal verb means behave badly, cause trouble.
And the child promises, I won't, I promise. Followed by the parent's okay and I love you, ending the negotiation.
Yeah. It's just such a perfect little snapshot of how we mix standard English and informal language in families, especially around requests, permissions, boundaries.
Absolutely. It's that whole dance. Parental responsibility versus a kid's desire for independence and social life, all played out through everyday words and phrases.
Okay, our next scenario taps into a very relatable feeling. Frustration with a friend's behavior.
Ah, yes, the friend zone. No, wait, different kind of friend frustration.
Right. The child complains, Dad, I'm so sick of Jake always messing around. Now, messing around can mean playing, but here it definitely sounds negative.
Oh yeah, the tone is key. It implies being disruptive, not serious, maybe irresponsible. You can almost hear the sigh behind the words.
Totally. And the parent, playing the good listener, asks, what did he do this time? Wants specifics.
Right. Not just accepting the general complaint. The child elaborates, as always, he always goofs off and never takes anything seriously. And there's another great informal phrasal verb, goofs off.
Goofs off, yeah. And the parent immediately asks for clarification. Goof off, what do you mean by that? Which is great. They're trying to understand the exact nature of the problem.
Exactly. Not just dismissing it. They want to know what goofing off looks like in this situation.
And the child explains, it means he never listens when I ask him to do something. Okay, so it's not just being silly. It's about ignoring requests, being irresponsible. It's affecting the speaker directly.
Right. It's about a lack of cooperation, maybe even disrespect. The parent then digs deeper for a specific example. I see. So what exactly did he do this time?
Good parenting. Get the details.
And the child replies, well, I told him to clean his room, and he just blew me off. Okay, blew me off, another really common and important informal phrasal verb.
Yeah, that one's key. And the parent checks the meaning. Blew you off, you mean he didn't do it.
Exactly. It confirms that blew off means to ignore someone, dismiss their request, disregard what they said. It really carries that sense of being slighted, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. Like, your request wasn't even worth considering. And the child confirms, adding the reason. That's right, Dad. He said he was too busy playing games. Classic.
Huh. Yes. Video games versus chores. An age-old battle. The parent's reaction, that sounds bad, shows empathy. They're validating the child's frustration. Yeah, that's not okay.
That's important. Feeling heard.
Very. And then comes the logical next step. Suggest communication. Did you try to talk to him about it?
Makes sense. Try to resolve it directly first.
But the child says, I tried, but he just brushes me off every time. Okay, yet another phrasal verb. Brushes me off.
Very similar to blew me off.
Extremely similar.
Yeah.
Means to dismiss or ignore someone, often quickly, curtly, without much interest. It implies this is a repeated pattern. He always dismisses me.
Yeah, paints a picture of hitting a brick wall with communication attempts. So the child is clearly exasperated and finally asks for backup. I see now, so what do you want me to do? Parent him, please, or else you will have to clean his room.
Reaching the end of the rope. They're clearly looking for adult intervention now. You deal with them.
Totally. They've tried. It's not working. Time for the authorities.
And the parent, maybe a bit reluctantly, agrees. Well, I guess I will have to talk to him. Which concludes this very, very relatable scenario of dealing with an uncooperative friend.
Yeah, and this segment really drove home how much these phrasal verbs messing around, goof off, blew me off, brushes me off, add nuance to everyday complaints and requests. They're so descriptive.
They really are. Spoken English relies so heavily on them. Without them, we'd sound much more formal, maybe even stilted.
Absolutely. Okay, next conversational snippet. This one is about deciding whether to attend a family event, Aunt Karen's wedding.
Right. The initial question is straightforward. Are you going to Aunt Karen's wedding next weekend?
And the response immediately signals, shall we say, a lack of wild enthusiasm. I don't know, I might just hang out with my friends instead.
Yes. Hang out again, meaning that casual, preferred social time with friends, clearly pitting it against the family obligation.
Yeah, the classic dilemma. Friends versus family event. The importance of the wedding is then stressed. Don't you want to go to the wedding? It's a big deal. Trying to highlight its significance.
Appealing to the big deal factor. But the reluctance persists. I don't know. Weddings aren't really my thing. Very honest, very direct.
It is. It's just not something I enjoy. Fair enough.
But then the gentle nudge towards duty. Well, it's family. You should show up. Appealing to that sense of obligation, supporting family members.
Right, playing the family card. And this leads to a compromise, and naturally, more slang. Maybe I'll swing by for a bit. I don't want to stay too long, though.
Swing by. Another great informal term for a brief visit.
Yeah.
And the parent, maybe not totally sure, seeks clarification. Swing by.
Yeah, like what does that entail exactly?
And the child explains clearly. I'll come, but only for a little while. The parent accepts. All right, I guess that works.
Yeah.
The compromise is accepted.
And the child reinforces the brevity using another similar phrase. Yeah, I'll pop in and say hi, but then I'll head out.
Pop in. Also very common, very informal for a short, casual visit. It really emphasizes quick appearance, no big commitment.
Exactly. Not staying for the whole long reception, just making an appearance. And the chat wraps up with a practical reminder about attire. Fine. Just don't forget to dress up for the occasion.
Can't go to a wedding in ripped jeans.
Probably not. And the child reassures, maybe slightly sarcastically, don't worry, I won't show up in jeans.
Good. So this little exchange nicely shows how someone might negotiate attending an event they're not thrilled about, using informal language like swing by and pop in to signal limited commitment while still acknowledging social expectations like dressing up.
Yeah, it's that whole negotiation dance again, played out in everyday terms.
Exactly. Finding that middle ground.
All right, our next scene seems to be set in a waiting room. Sounds like maybe a doctor's office.
Yeah, the opening lines suggest that strongly. I hope we get called in soon. How are you holding up? Followed by, my stomach still hurts.
Definitely sounds like waiting for an appointment. And then the comforting response. I know, sweetie. I'm sure they'll call us up in a minute. Just hang in there a little longer. And there it is, the very common idiom, hang in there.
Super common. Used all the time for encouragement in tough situations. And just as we might expect, the child, maybe hearing it for the first time or just curious, asks directly, what does hang in there mean?
Right. It's not obvious from the words themselves.
No. And the explanation given is spot on. Oh, it means to keep going, even though it's tough. It's about perseverance, resilience, don't give up.
Exactly. A message of encouragement. But then we get that delightful moment of literal interpretation from the child. Oh, okay, I thought you meant I should grab the wall and hang.
It's so charming, isn't it? And it just perfectly highlights how bizarre idioms can sound if you take them literally. Why understanding the figurative meaning is crucial.
Totally. It's a great little language lesson embedded in the conversation.
It is. Brings a little humor into what sounds like an uncomfortable wait. The parent gently corrects, haha, no, my little boy. And then they share that universal waiting room frustration. This is taking forever. Why do they hurry up?
Oh, yeah. We've all been there, staring at the clock.
Followed by the equally common, slightly resigned agreement. Yeah, I know. I'm sure they'll get to us soon. They have to finish up with the other patients first. Just managing expectations while waiting.
Right, the reality of the queue. Then the child voices another discomfort. I'm really hungry too. I wish I could eat something.
And the parent offers that classic parental move, a comforting promise as an incentive. Well, we'll grab something after we check out. You can pick whatever you want.
Nice. A little reward for being patient.
Exactly. But the child asks the perfectly logical question,
Yeah.
Why not now?
Yeah, why wait?
And the parent gives the practical reason. Because we need to find out what's wrong with you first. Makes sense, especially if it's a stomach issue.
True. Can't have a snack interfering with the diagnosis. The conversation ends with the child's hope. I see. I just hope they fix me up fast, and the parent's simple reassurance, they will, sweetie.
Yeah. So this brief interaction, centered around understanding the idiom hang in there, also touches on those really common everyday feelings. Discomfort, impatience, hunger, hope, all expressed using simple, relatable language.
It does. And that little literal interpretation moment, grab the wall and hang, that really sticks with you. Makes you appreciate how non-literal language works.
It really does. Okay, what's next on our list? A request for help with chores.
The eternal struggle. It starts straightforwardly, like, hey, can you help me out with this? Using that very common phrasal verb, help out, just meaning assist.
Simple enough. But the response shows immediate reluctance and uses slang we've seen before. I was planning to chill today.
Chill again. The desire for relaxation versus the call of duty.
Exactly. And the person asking for help insists, with a bit of playful scolding.
Yeah.
Can't just chill, you've got to pitch in. And here's another key phrasal verb. pitch in.
Pitch in. And the response shows the other person isn't sure what that means in this context. Pitch in. Do you mean giving you money?
Huh. That's interesting. Maybe they associate pitching in primarily with contributing money to a group fund or something.
Could be. It shows how phrasal verbs can sometimes have multiple senses or be unclear if you haven't encountered that specific usage.
Definitely. The explanation clarifies it. No, pitch in means to help out. Come on, don't be lazy. Directly defining it as contributing effort, helping with a task.
Right, lend a hand. But the resistance continues. I'm not being lazy. I just want to relax. Why don't you just get it done? The classic avoidance tactic.
Oh, yeah. Can't someone else do it? The person needing help then justifies why they need it. Because there are too many things that need to be done. And I only have 2 hands. Logical, relatable reason.
I'm overwhelmed. I need support. But the other person makes one last stand. What if I still don't want to do it? Pushing back.
It's the final attempt to maintain their chill status.
But the asker has an ace up their sleeve, invoking higher authority. I'll text mom for help them.
Ah, the mom card. Often effective.
The reluctant helper tries to call the bluff. Will she drop everything and come home to help you? Implying probably not.
But the response delivers the unspoken threat with perfect clarity. No, but she'll ground you, and then you'll have plenty of time to chill.
Ooh, nice one. Ground. As in, punish by restricting freedom, usually keeping them home, and that sarcastic use of chill at the end is brilliant.
It really is. Contrasting the desired relaxation with the enforced boredom of being grounded, it emphasizes the consequence beautifully.
So yeah, this whole exchange is just a perfect example of how phrasal verbs like help out and pitch in feature in everyday requests and negotiations, especially around chores and responsibilities in a family.
Absolutely. That common dynamic played out through informal language and a little bit of leverage.
For sure, that grounding threat usually works. Okay, moving to a conversation about signing up for an activity, a dance class.
Right. The child expresses interest. Mom, I'm thinking about signing up for that dance class.
It sounds positive, but the parent's first reaction has a touch of caution. Ooh, that sounds nice, but isn't it a bit much for you right now?
Yeah, that immediate concern about overcommitment. Can you handle this on top of everything else? Very typical parental thought process.
Totally. Protecting their kid from burnout. But the child is full of enthusiasm and uses more contemporary slang. Nah, I'm totally down for it. I think it'll be lit.
Okay, 2 good ones there. Totally down for it. That's a really common way to express strong willingness and excitement. Yes, I really want to do this.
Yeah, very positive. And lit, we saw fire earlier. Lit is in the same family, right? Meaning awesome, great, exciting.
Exactly. Used by younger generations to signal something is really good or fun. And predictably.
The parent asks, lit, what do you mean by that? Back to the slang dictionary.
It's becoming a pattern in this transcript, isn't it? That constant need for clarification across generations.
It really is. The child explains simply, you know, awesome, it's going to be a lot of fun, clear, easy definition.
And the parent's guess plays on the literal meaning again, similar to the hang in there moment. Oh, okay, I thought you meant it was on fire or something.
Yes. It highlights how these slang terms often repurpose existing words, which can lead to funny literal interpretations if you're not in the loop.
Precisely. The child clarifies, no, Mom, not literally. And the parent gives a sort of conditional, okay, I see. Well, I guess if you're excited, it's fine. But are you sure you can handle everything? That underlying worry about capacity is still there.
Right. The excitement is good, but let's be practical.
And the child expresses confidence using a couple of common idioms. Yeah, I can juggle it all. I won't burn out or anything.
Juggle it all. Great idiom for managing multiple tasks or commitments simultaneously. And burnout, equally common idiom for becoming exhausted or overwhelmed from doing too much for too long.
Both very descriptive. But guess what happens with juggle?
Oh no, not another literal interpretation.
You got it. The parent asks, juggle. Are you going to be doing tricks or something?
Huh. It's actually quite funny. It really drives home how much idioms depend on that shared, non-literal understanding.
It really does.
Yeah.
The child patiently explains the figurative meaning. No, it means balancing things like school, homework, and dance. The parent gets it. Got it. So you're sure you're not going to be overwhelmed. Still checking.
Still double checking. And the child offers that simple, strong reassurance. Trust me, Mom.
Yeah, that informal way of saying, believe me, I've got this.
And the parent finally gives the green light with a final piece of advice. All right, if you're sure, then go for it. But remember to take breaks. That crucial self-care reminder.
Always important. And the child signs off confidently, "Don't worry, Mom, I've got it under control."
Yeah.
Using another common idiom for being capable and managing a situation.
Yeah. So this conversation is just a lovely mix of youthful enthusiasm, contemporary slang, down for it, lit, useful idioms, juggle, burnout, got it under control, and that ever-present parental concern and guidance.
It really is. It shows how we navigate new possibilities, blending excitement with practicality, all through language.
Okay, almost at the end of our detailed scenarios. This one is about planning a family gathering. It starts with someone wanting it to go really well. I think we should totally nail this family gathering.
The idiom, nail it, meaning to do something perfectly, succeed completely.
Right. And following the pattern, the other person asks for clarification. Nail it. What do you mean by that? Unfamiliarity strikes again.
Seems so. The explanation given is pretty good. Like make it perfect, make sure everything goes smoothly, captures the general idea of success.
Yeah. But then comes a really interesting correction about usage. Oh, I see. But you can't really nail something like that. The first speaker is confused. What? Isn't that how you say it?
And the clarification is key. No, it's nail it when you do something really well. But it's not quite the right word for planning.
This is such a good point about idiom usage. You can nail a test, nail a presentation, nail a performance, meaning you executed it flawlessly, but applying it to the planning of a gathering feels off.
Exactly. It's usually about the successful execution of a specific task, often one with a clear endpoint or performance element. Planning is more ongoing, less concrete maybe.
Yeah, that makes sense. The correction continues with better alternatives. Let's just say, let's make it a success, or let's pull it off instead.
Pull it off, another great idiom. It means to succeed in doing something that was difficult or maybe seemed unlikely. It fits the challenge of organizing a successful family gathering much better.
It really does. It acknowledges the potential difficulty, and the first speaker accepts the correction readily. Okay. I guess we can totally pull it off. Well, that works. Shows they're learning.
Which is great. Then the conversation shifts to logistics. But wait, what about the shopping? Do you want me to help with that? The other person replies, "Oh, I got it. I'll just get everything and then we can all hang loose." And, another idiom attempt. Hang loose.
Hang loose. Okay, what's the feedback on that one?
The correction comes swiftly. "Mom, you mean chill or relax?" Hang loose is usually for when you're just taking it easy.
So a subtle difference again. Hang loose is maybe more associated with a very laid-back, carefree vibe, perhaps even a bit dated or linked to specific subcultures like surfing.
Exactly. While it's in the same ballpark as chill or relax, it has a slightly different flavor. Chill and relax are more general terms for unwinding after the work shopping is done.
Got it. So using hang loose there wasn't quite right. And the person trying the idiom realizes it with humor. Oh my goodness, I need to stop trying to sound cool.
Followed by the child's gentle agreement, "Yes, please." It's a charming end to the segment. That moment of self-awareness, maybe forcing slang isn't the best approach.
It really is, and it reinforces that idea we talked about earlier. Often, just being authentic in your communication works better than trying too hard to use language that doesn't feel natural to you.
Absolutely. A great little lesson there.
So that covers the main detailed scenarios in the transcript. But as we noted, there are also all those brief mentions of other everyday conversations sprinkled throughout.
Right. And while we can't dissect every single one, they're really valuable for showing the sheer breadth and variety of everyday English.
Definitely. Like we see those simple moments of noticing the world. Wow, look at the trees. They're so tall.
Yeah.
Just appreciating nature.
Or those quick interactions when you're leaving somewhere, like a restaurant. "Would you like some dessert?" "Oh, maybe not. Why not?" "This restaurant has the best tiramisu ever. I need to leave soon. My husband's picking me up." Just practical logistics mixed with opinions.
Yeah, exactly. And the little everyday mishaps. "I can't believe how many times I tripped over that rug today." So relatable.
Or talking about habits, maybe slightly guiltily. "Did you stay up late last night playing games again?" Maybe. Just a little. That admission. We've all been there. And the urgency of running late. "Where are you, Emma? On my way." Those exclamation points say it all.
They do. Or looking forward to the weekend. "I can't believe the weekend is almost here. I know. Any plans for it?" Standard small talk.
And then there's the slightly more dramatic moments, maybe gossip or recounting events. "Can you believe what Jake just did?" "No, what happened? He just walked out of the party." That kind of intrigue.
Or making plans to connect over shared interests. "Hey, did you finish that book?" "Almost. It's so good. Why don't we talk about it?" "When?" Like now. "Are you free?" That's spontaneous planning.
Yeah, or confirming existing plan. Are we still on for lunch tomorrow? Yeah, definitely. I can't wait to catch up. Just maintaining social connections.
And those moments of helping each other, sometimes with frustration, like with technology. Okay, Dad, just swipe left to see the other apps. I swiped, but nothing happened. The tech support struggle. Oh, the generational tech gap. And reminiscing about things like music. Can I ask you something, Jack? Sure. What's up? I was listening to the radio the other day, and this song came on that I really love. Sharing personal connections.
Or the classic neighborhood curiosity. Did you hear about the commotion over at the Wilsons' house the other day? No, I didn't. What happened? That interest in local happenings.
Right, and sharing slightly unusual anecdotes from the day. You're not going to believe what happened in my garden today, honey. What happened? Creating that little bit of suspense.
And discussing social plans, like checking out a new place. I was thinking about checking out that new club that just opened up downtown. Want to come with me? Extending invitations.
Or talking about shared entertainment. Have you seen that new sci-fi movie everyone's been talking about? You mean the one with the crazy special effects and plot twists? Connecting over media.
Expressing concern for others. Guys, I'm really worried about my colleague, David. Your colleague? What's going on, Joe? Showing care and seeking information.
And finally, even touching on those bigger life decisions. Hey, Mom, can I talk to you about something? Of course, sweetheart. What's on your mind? Well, I've been thinking about taking a gap year after high school, opening up important conversations.
Yeah, these brief snippets, even just as single lines or short exchanges, they really do underscore just how incredibly diverse our everyday conversations are. The range of topics, tones, relationships, it's huge.
It really is. And while, we didn't do a deep dive on each tiny one, seeing them all together really paints a vibrant picture of daily life communication.
Definitely. It's the fabric of how we interact.
Absolutely. So as we start to wrap up this deep dive, I think the biggest takeaway, hopefully, for everyone listening is just how much richness and nuance all this informal language, the slang, the idioms, the phrasal verbs adds to English.
Mm-hmm. It's way more than just the dictionary definitions, isn't it? It's about understanding the feeling, the implication, the social signals, the cultural context behind these expressions.
Exactly. It's what makes conversations feel alive, feel natural, feel, well, real.
And this transcript, it's given us such a great window into those real-life interactions. We've seen the meanings behind so many common phrases, and maybe more importantly, how they function in different chats.
Yeah, from sorting out dinner to dealing with fights, sharing excitement, making plans, asking for help. It covers so much ground.
And we'd really encourage you, listeners, as you continue learning and using English, to really start tuning your ear to these kinds of phrases. Listen for them in podcasts, movies, TV shows, music.
And especially if you get the chance to talk with native speakers, notice when they use certain slang or idioms. What's the situation? Who are they talking to?
Because context, as we saw time and time again today, is just absolutely crucial. That's how you figure out the real meaning.
Couldn't agree more. The same words can mean totally different things depending on the context. Who's saying it, who they're saying it to, what the vibe is. You've got to read the room, linguistically speaking.
Precisely. Always look at the bigger picture to really get what's being said, especially with informal stuff.
Okay, so on that note, we want to leave you all with a final thought, something to maybe mull over. Think about how all this informal language we've looked at today, the slang that pops up, the idioms that get used, even the slightly confusing bits between generations, how might that reflect deeper things like cultural values? Or maybe just the way different generations see the world and communicate within it?
Ooh, that's a really interesting question. How does the casual language we use reflect who we are as individuals or as groups?
Exactly. Something to chew on as you continue your own English learning journey. And today we're zoning in on one specific resource, right? A YouTube video lesson.
Exactly. We're focusing on the video, Important Phrasal Verbs for Everyday Conversations, Listen and Repeat Practice, by J. Forrest English.
Right, I've seen that one. It's a really well-structured lesson. Very clear.
It is. It introduces some really common and genuinely useful phrasal verbs, the ones you actually hear all the time.
And what's great about doing this deep dive, I think, is that we can go beyond just, the basic definitions. We can really unpack how these combinations work.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we say take up instead of just start? What's that up doing there? It helps to make the language feel less arbitrary, perhaps.
That's a perfect way to put it, less arbitrary, and hopefully make it stick better, too. The original video uses that listen and repeat, approach.
It's just fantastic for pronunciation, getting the sounds right, the rhythm.
Definitely. Our goal here, though, is to take those key phrases from the video and, well, really explore the nuances, the little shades of meaning, the context where you'd use them, or maybe where you wouldn't use them.
Yeah, the subtleties that might not be immediately obvious just from a definition and a single example sentence.
Exactly. We want to equip you, our listener, with a deeper understanding so you feel more confident actually using these in your own chats, making your English sound more natural.
That's the key, isn't it? Sounding natural, not like you swallowed a dictionary.
Right. So the video, it kicks things off with a category that's just fundamental for, well, connecting with people, socializing and small talk.
Makes perfect sense to start there. I mean, that's where language really comes alive, isn't it? In actual interaction.
Totally. So the first phrasal verb the lesson presents is take up. And the example sentence is, when did you take up yoga?
Okay, take up yoga. So on the surface, it seems pretty straightforward. It means to start doing something, usually a hobby or activity, regularly.
Right, not just trying it once, but making it a thing you do.
But like you hinted earlier, what about that up particle? What's it contributing here? Does it add something that start doesn't quite capture?
I think it does. That up sort of suggests initiation. So you're picking something up off the ground, metaphorically speaking, and getting it going.
That's a nice image. It implies effort, maybe? Or perhaps the beginning of a process that continues upwards or forwards.
Yeah, and definitely that sense of commitment, like you said, is establishing a new routine. It's not just a fleeting interest. You've decided, okay, I'm doing yoga now.
Precisely. If you just say, I started yoga, it could mean you did one class. But I took up yoga almost always implies you've made it a regular practice, or at least you intend to. There's a stronger sense of continuation.
That's a great distinction. It really highlights the subtle power of these little particles.
And the video does a good job reminding us that take-up isn't only about starting hobbies. It can mean other things entirely.
Right, like take up space. That huge sofa takes up half the room. Completely different meaning.
Or take up time. That meeting took up my whole morning.
Oh yeah, good one. So context is absolutely king with phrasal verbs. You can't just learn take up in isolation.
You really can't. It's about the whole phrase and the situation.
And the video also mentions it's separable. This is always a tricky point for learners, isn't it? Separable versus inseparable.
It definitely is. So with take up, you can say take up yoga or take yoga up. Both are generally fine when the object is a noun, like yoga.
But if the object is a pronoun, like it.
Then the rule is much stricter. The pronoun has to go in the middle. When did you take it up? You wouldn't say, when did you take up it? That sounds quite unnatural.
Got it. So take it up, take them up, but take a painting or take painting up. That flexibility with nouns is useful. Is there a deeper reason why some are separable and some aren't? Or is it just English being English?
A bit of both, perhaps. Sometimes it relates to how established the phrase is or the oat type of particle. Particles that indicate direction or completion, like up, down, out, in, are often involved in separable verbs. It's almost like the verb acts on the object and the particle describes the result or direction of that action. So you take yoga and the result is up. It's now an active pursuit.
That's a really helpful way to conceptualize it, visualizing the action.
It can help sometimes, yeah, though memorization and practice are still key, unfortunately.
Always. The YouTube lesson also touches on pronunciation, which is great. It mentions that did you can often sound like did ya, that soft J sound.
Yeah. Very common in natural speech, that assimilation.
And how the K sound at the end of take links smoothly onto the U of take up.
Yeah, that consonant vowel linking is crucial for fluency. It avoids choppy speech. Little details, but they make a huge difference to how you sound.
They really do. And someone in the comments on the video provided a great example sentence. I took up English classes last year.
Perfect example. It clearly implies they enrolled, they started attending regularly. It wasn't just a thought. It was an action with continuation.
Exactly. It suggests a commitment to learning.
And it's a good prompt for our listeners too, actually. Think about it. What's something you've recently taken up? A new sport? An instrument? Learning to code? How would you phrase that using take up?
Good exercise. Okay, let's move on within this socializing and small talk category. The next one is bring up.
Right. The example given is, he always brings up politics at work.
Okay, bring up. So in this context, it clearly means to initiate a topic of conversation, to introduce something into the discussion.
Precisely. You're raising a subject.
But again, thinking about the words themselves, why bring up? What does that image suggest?
Well, similar to take up often suggests introduction or emergence. It's like you're lifting a topic out of silence or from a previous context and presenting it, bringing it to the surface for everyone to see and discuss.
Lifting it into the conversation. I like that. It implies a conscious action, doesn't it? You choose to introduce this topic.
It often does, yes. It's usually a deliberate move. And like take up, bring up is also separable.
Ah, okay. So you could say he always brings politics up at work.
Exactly. He brings politics up, or he brings up politics. Both work. But again, the pronoun rule applies.
Let me guess. He always brings it up at work.
Spot on. The it has to go in the middle. You wouldn't say he brings up it.
Got it. Consistency is helpful. The video also slips in a little grammar point here.
Yes, the third person is as. Because the subject is he, the present simple form is brings, not bring. A fundamental point, but always good to reinforce.
Absolutely. Those basics are the foundation. And pronunciation tips too. The video mentions a potential slight Y sound, linking he and always. He always.
That little glide can happen naturally between vowel sounds. And also how the S in brings might sound like a Z before the vowel N of brings up.
Brings up politics. Yeah, I can hear that. These connected speech features are so important for comprehension too, not just production.
Definitely. They're a big part of why listening can be challenging initially. Now, thinking about the meaning of bring up, the example, it always brings up politics at work, could sound a bit negative, couldn't it?
It could, yeah. It depends entirely on the context and the tone, I suppose. Always doing it might imply it's inappropriate or causes arguments.
Exactly. The phrasal verb itself, bring up, meaning to initiate a topic, is neutral. But the way it's used, the topic chosen, the frequency, the setting, all of that gives it a positive, negative, or neutral flavor.
So if you bring up a helpful suggestion in a meeting, that's positive. If you bring up someone's past mistakes during a celebration, that's probably negative.
Definitely negative. So the tool itself is neutral, but its application determines the impact. You have to be mindful of what you're bringing up and when and where.
That's a really crucial point about communication in general, not just phrasal verbs. It's the pragmatics of language.
Precisely. The comments section on the source video had some good illustrations of this. One user wrote, "Anna, my friend, always brings up her relationship issues."
Okay, see, that could go either way, couldn't it? Maybe Anna trusts her friend and is seeking support, which is positive. Or maybe she overshares constantly, which could be seen as negative or burdensome.
Exactly. It depends on the relationship, the context, the frequency. Another comment used it in the past. Simple. I brought up Jennifer's channel when I talked with my friend about the best way to learn English.
That sounds much more straightforwardly positive or neutral. Just introducing a relevant topic, a recommendation.
Yes, it shows the range. Bringing up problems, bringing up recommendations, bringing up concerns, bringing up memories. It's a very versatile phrase for initiating discussion.
Very useful indeed. Okay, let's look at the third one in this socializing group. Get along with.
The example sentence is, she really got along with my cousin.
This one feels quite intuitive, I think. It basically means to have a good, friendly relationship with someone, to like each other and interact well.
That's the core meaning, yes, harmony in a relationship.
But the video makes a point of saying it's not exactly the same as agree with. What's the nuance there? Can you get along with someone you don't always agree with?
Absolutely. That's a key distinction. Agree with is about sharing the same opinions or views. Get along with is about the quality of the interaction, the interpersonal dynamic. You can have different opinions on politics, religion, or pineapple on pizza.
Controversial.
And still genuinely like each other, enjoy each other's company, and have smooth, friendly interactions. That's getting along.
Okay, that makes sense. So getting along is more about the relationship vibe, the rapport, whereas agreeing is about shared viewpoints.
Exactly. Of course, if you disagree on everything fundamental, it might make getting along difficult.
Sure, like one of the comments mentioned later.
But the concepts themselves are distinct. Liking someone and interacting well versus sharing their opinions.
Got it. The video also touches on the grammar, specifically the use of with.
Right. You need the preposition with when you specify the person or people involved. She got along with my cousin. I get along with my colleagues.
But sometimes you can just say, we get along, without the with.
Yes, you can. If the people involved are clear from the context, like we or they, you can sometimes omit the with part. My cousin and I met and we just clicked. We really got along. It implies got along with each other.
Okay, so the with is essential when you're naming the other party explicitly.
Generally, yes. It connects the action of getting along to the specific person. And pronunciation-wise, the video points out how the T in got can soften, especially before a long, sometimes sounding more like a D, goat along.
She really got along with my cousin. Yeah, another example of that softening T sound in connected speech. These patterns really help once you start noticing them.
They do. It helps tune your ear. The comments on the video had some quite poignant examples for this one. Someone shared, "I really got along with my dad who passed away almost 5 years ago."
Oh, that's lovely but sad. It conveys such a warm, positive relationship, doesn't it? Yeah. Using got along with really emphasizes the quality of their connection.
It does, much more than just saying, "I liked my dad." It speaks to their interactions.
Yeah.
And then there was a contrasting example tying back to the agree with point. "She didn't get along with my cousin because they didn't agree on anything."
So there's the flip side. While you can get along without agreeing on everything, if the disagreement is constant and fundamental, it can definitely prevent a good relationship from forming.
Precisely. It illustrates that point perfectly. Persistent disagreement can certainly hinder getting along.
So get along with about the positive dynamic and interaction between people.
You've got it.
Okay, the final phrasal verb in this first section, socializing and small talk, is run into.
And the example is a classic conversation starter. "You'll never guess who I ran into today."
Instantly makes you curious. So run into someone means
to meet someone completely by chance, unexpectedly, without any prior arrangement. You weren't planning to see them at all.
Right. The surprise element is absolutely key. Why run into? What's the visual there? A collision.
Kind of. It evokes that sense of suddenly encountering someone while you're both moving along your separate paths. Not necessarily a physical collision, but an unexpected intersection of your journeys for a moment. It emphasizes the unplanned nature.
Like bumping into someone, but maybe less physically jarring.
Exactly. And the example sentence, "You'll never guess who I ran into today," is brilliant because it deliberately withholds the who. It builds suspense.
It totally does. The implied question is just hanging in the air. Okay, tell me, who was it?
It's a very natural way to start telling a little story about an unexpected encounter.
The video points out the pronunciation of you'll, often quite reduced and unstressed in fluent speech, like you'll never guess.
Yep. Auxiliary verbs and contractions often get minimized like that. And the phrase, "you'll never guess," itself is just a standard, almost idiomatic way to introduce surprising news.
It really is. The comments has some clear examples of these chance meetings. One person wrote, "I ran into my elementary school's best friend."
Wow, that's a proper blast from the past. Definitely unexpected if they haven't seen each other in years. That perfectly fits ran into.
For sure. Another said, "I ran into my best friend at university." Maybe left dramatic, but still likely unplanned if they just bumped into each other on campus or downtown.
Still a chance encounter. And then there was the potentially more awkward one.
"I ran into my ex-boyfriend today."
Ooh. Yeah, definitely qualifies as an unexpected and possibly uncomfortable encounter. Ran into captures that perfectly.
It really does. The video also quickly reviews the verb forms, which is always useful for irregular verbs.
Yes. Run, base form. Ran, past simple. Run, past participle. So, I run into people often. I ran into him yesterday. I have run into him twice this week.
Good refresher. Okay, so that covers the first cluster. Take up, bring up, get along with, and run into. Super useful for talking about social interactions and everyday occurrences.
A very solid foundation for common conversation topics.
Definitely. Now, the video transitions us to a different but equally common everyday setting, a cafe.
The coffee shop scenario. Excellent. Lots of potential for phrasal verbs there, too.
For sure. So imagine this. You go to order your favorite treat, maybe a chocolate donut.
Chocolate donut.
And the barista gives you the bad news. "Sorry, we sold out of chocolate donuts." What's the key phrasal verb there?
It's sell out of. And it has a very specific meaning.
Which is?
It means the cafe has no more chocolate donuts left because they have all been sold. The supply is gone due to customer purchases.
Right. The crucial part is the selling. The video makes a really important distinction here with another common phrasal verb, run out of. How are they different?
That's a vital point. You sell out of items that your business offers for sale, but you run out of things you possess or use, things that aren't necessarily for sale, or maybe things you need for your own process.
Okay, so the cafe sells out of donuts because customers bought them all. But the barista might run out of energy at the end of a long shift.
Exactly. Or you, at home, might run out of milk for your coffee. You didn't sell the milk, you just used it all up. The cafe runs out of milk too if they use it all for making lattes and haven't got more stock. They wouldn't usually say they sold out of milk unless maybe they were selling cartons of milk directly.
That makes perfect sense. Sell out of specifically implies depletion through sales.
Right.
Run out of is more general depletion of supply.
Precisely. It's a nuance tied to the commercial context.
And the video notes that sell out of is inseparable. You can't sell chocolate donuts out of.
Correct. It's always sell out of something. The structure is fixed.
Pronunciation-wise, the video mentions a natural slight pause, often comes after sorry, which makes sense.
Sets up the bad news gently.
And sold out of can kind of blend together in speech. Maybe sold af or even sold out.
Yeah, those final consonants can soften or link up. Sold out of. Listening for those connected sounds is key.
The comments provided some great real-world examples. Sorry, we sold out of coffee.
The ultimate cafe nightmare.
Right. Another one. I hate when shops sell out of trendy clothes. Shows it applies to retail in general, not just food.
Definitely. Anything that's sold can be sold out of.
And a very relevant one from recent memory. Most shops sold out of toilet paper during COVID.
Oh, yes. That was the definition of sold out, wasn't it? Empty shelves everywhere due to overwhelming demand. It perfectly illustrates the meaning nothing left because everyone bought it.
It's a slightly stressful example, be clear. Okay, so the customer can't get their chocolate donut because the cafe sold out of them. How might they react? The video suggests a slightly resigned response. Oh, well, I should cut back on sugar anyway.
Introducing our next phrasal verb, cut back on.
So what does cut back on mean?
It means to reduce the quantity or frequency of something you consume or do. And crucially, as the video points out, it's almost always used for things that are considered somewhat negative, unhealthy, or excessive.
Right. You cut back on things like sugar, caffeine, spending money, smoking, working too much.
Yeah.
Things you probably should be doing less of.
Exactly. You wouldn't usually say, I need to cut back on eating vegetables, or I should cut back on getting enough sleep. It implies a reduction for health, well-being, or financial reasons.
That makes sense. The implication is important. Pronunciation-wise, cut back on seems pretty straightforward. The sounds float together quite naturally.
Yes, cut back on. Fairly standard linking.
The video also highlights the function of anyway in the customer's response. What does anyway signal there?
It signals a change of perspective, almost like saying, well, since I can't have the donut, maybe it's for the best because. It softens the disappointment and introduces a reason why not getting the donut isn't so bad after all. A bit of rationalization, perhaps?
Right. And the use of should, I should cut back, indicates self-advice or recognition of what would be sensible, even if they don't always follow it.
Precisely. It's that internal voice of reason chiming in.
The comments had some very relatable examples for cut back on. Someone wrote, I should cut back on beer.
A common resolution for many.
Indeed. Another commenter cleverly linked two phrasal verbs. Taking up sports won't benefit you without cutting back on unhealthy food.
Ooh, nice connection. That shows how these phrases work together in real life, thinking about health and habits. You start one thing, take up, you reduce another, cut back on.
Very true. And another one that probably hits home for many, I should cut back on work.
Yes, finding that work-life balance often involves needing to cut back on work hours or commitments. It fits perfectly.
Definitely. So cut back on reducing something, usually for the better.
Okay, back to the cafe. The customer is thinking about cutting back on sugar. How might the savvy barista respond to keep the sale, maybe offer an alternative?
Well, the video suggests they might say something like, actually, we're trying out a new sugar-free cookie recipe.
Introducing our next phrasal verb, try out. What does try out mean in this context?
Try out means to test something new to see if it works, if it's good, or if you like it. It implies experimentation or a trial period.
So the cafe is testing this new cookie. It's not necessarily a permanent fixture on the menu yet.
Exactly. The use of the present continuous tense, we are trying out, emphasizes that it's an ongoing process right now. They're gathering feedback, seeing how popular it is.
That makes sense. It lowers the stakes a bit too, doesn't it? Like, give it a go, see what you think.
Precisely. It invites the customer to participate in the testing phase.
And is try out separable or inseparable?
It's separable. You can try out a recipe or try a recipe out, and crucially with a pronoun. Let me try. We're trying it out.
Perfect. The pronoun it, referring to the recipe or the cookie, goes in the middle. Try it out. Try them out.
Getting the hang of this separable thing. The video also gives a quick pronunciation reminder for the word recipe.
Yes. emphasizing that final long E sound, res-I-P-E, not recipe or res-ipe.
Good tip. Sometimes those common words trip people up. So try out is about testing or experimenting.
The comments had some relevant examples, too. We are trying out a new method to learn languages faster.
Very meta for the viewers of that channel. Trying out new learning methods is key.
Indeed. And someone else made a nice connection back to our topic, suggesting that learners should try all the phrasal verbs out in context.
That's brilliant advice. Don't just memorize them. Try them out. Use them in sentences. See if they fit. See if they sound right. Experimentation is crucial for language acquisition.
Absolutely. You need to activate the language, not just passively receive it. Trying them out helps you understand the nuances and boundaries of their use.
So true. Okay, so the barista suggests trying out the new sugar-free cookie. Let's say the customer agrees, but maybe they're not really enjoying it that much. What might the server notice and say later?
The video suggests the server might observe, "You only picked at your cookie, you don't like it."
Okay, the phrasal verb here is pick at. What does pick at your food mean?
Pick at means to eat only a very small amount of food, often without much interest or enthusiasm, like you're just moving it around the plate with your fork or taking tiny, hesitant bites, nibbling.
Right. It implies a lack of appetite or enjoyment. The video mentions it could be for several reasons.
Yes, you might pick at your food because you're not actually hungry, maybe you feel a bit sick, you're worried or distracted, or, as the server suspects here, you simply don't like the taste of it.
So it signals how you're eating minimally and without gusto.
Exactly. It describes the action, and the reason is often implied or needs to be asked about.
And the video makes a really interesting observation about the server's question. You don't like it. How does that work grammatically versus conversationally?
Grammatically, you don't like it is a declarative statement, a negative one. But in spoken English, by using a rising intonation at the end, you don't like it, it functions perfectly as a question.
Right. It's a very common conversational pattern. It sounds a bit softer maybe, or more observational than the direct question, do you like it?
It can, yes. It often implies the speaker has already observed something, the picking at the food, that leads them to tentatively conclude you don't like it, and they're seeking confirmation. Like, my observation seems to be that you don't like it. Am I right?
That's a great explanation. Intonation doing heavy lifting again.
Always. It's a huge part of spoken meaning that isn't always obvious from written text.
So pick at food, eat very little, without enthusiasm. Okay, that wraps up our cafe scenario. Sell out of, cut back on, try out, and pick at.
Some very practical phrases for navigating food and ordering situations.
Definitely. Now let's shift gears again. The video moves us into a more formal setting, meetings and appointments, the professional sphere.
Right. Another area ripe with its own set of common phrasal verbs.
Absolutely. The first one comes up in a very common question. Can we set up a meeting for next week?
Set up. Okay.
What does set up mean here? And how does it compare to just saying schedule or arrange?
In this context, set up a meeting means to organize it, to schedule it, to arrange for it to happen. It covers the whole process of making the meeting a reality.
Is there any difference in feel between set up, schedule, and arrange? Or are they pretty much interchangeable?
They're very close synonyms in this context and often interchangeable. However, set up can sometimes feel slightly more active or logistical. It might subtly imply not just picking a time, but also handling the necessary arrangements, booking a room, sending invites, maybe setting an agenda. Schedule often focuses more purely on finding the time slot. Arrange is quite similar to set up.
Okay, so set up might encompass a bit more the making it happen aspect.
It can carry that connotation, yes. Though in many cases, people use them interchangeably without thinking too deeply about these subtle distinctions. The video also mentions pronunciation again.
Right, that T sound in set, potentially softening before up. Set up a sounding like sedupa or situpa.
That soft D or flap T sound is very common in North American English especially. Situpa meeting.
Makes it flow much more smoothly than setapa. The video also provides arrange and schedule as related vocabulary, which is useful for variety.
Yes, having synonyms is always good for learners. Helps avoid repetition and understand variations. So, set up a fundamental phrasal verb for organizing meetings, calls, appointments, anything that needs planning.
Very common, very useful. Okay, next one. Imagine a meeting has happened and now there's a need for continued contact. The video gives the example request. Please follow up with us next week.
Follow up with, Another cornerstone of professional communication.
What exactly does follow up with mean, and what's the absolutely essential condition for using it?
Follow up with means to make contact with someone again after a previous interaction, specifically to continue discussing the same topic, get more information, check on progress, or provide an update related to that initial interaction.
Okay, so the key is the pre-existing conversation or contact.
Absolutely critical. As the video emphasizes, there must be something to follow up on. You can't follow up out of the blue if there's been no prior discussion about that specific subject. It implies continuation.
So you have a meeting, and then you follow up to discuss the action points. Or you send an email, and you follow up if you don't get a reply.
Exactly. Or a doctor sees a patient and asks them to follow up in a month to check their progress. There's always an initial event or communication that the follow-up refers back to.
That's a really important distinction. It's not just contacting someone again, it's contacting them again about the same thing.
Precisely. The video also touches on pronunciation, the potential linking between follow and sound to sound, follow-up, and the sound in with us, making sure it's not a digger or Z sound.
Yeah,
with us.
Those sounds can be tricky. The video also mentions alternatives like follow up on or follow up about. How do those work?
Yes, very common variations. You typically follow up with a person, but follow up on or about a topic or task.
Okay. So I need to follow up with Sarah, but I need to follow up on the report or follow about the meeting notes.
Exactly. With connects to the person. On or about connects to the subject matter. Very useful distinction.
That is super helpful. So follow-up, essential for continuing communication threads in business, healthcare, pretty much anywhere ongoing contact is needed.
Definitely a high-frequency one.
Okay, next in the meetings and appointments category, we have a question. Have you checked in with the client yet?
Check in with. Okay.
Now, check-in can mean other things, like at a hotel or airport. What does check-in with mean in this professional context?
In this kind of context, check-in with someone means to make brief contact with them primarily to see if everything is okay, if they need anything, to give them a quick update, or just generally to maintain the connection and ensure things are progressing smoothly. It's often less formal or less task-oriented than a full follow-up.
So it's more like a quick touch point, a status check.
Exactly. A brief contact to maintain communication and make sure there are no problems. Just wanted to check in with you about the project timeline. Or, let's check in with the team leader before we proceed.
Okay. And the video rightly contrasts this with the airport hotel meeting, which is about registration. Context is everything.
It really is. Same words, totally different meanings based on the situation and the particle, in this case.
Pronunciation note. The ed ending on checked often sounds like a soft T checked. Have you checked in?
That voiceless T sound after the voiceless K sound.
And similar to follow up, can you also check in with someone on or about something?
Yes, absolutely. I need to check in with Maria on the presentation. Or let's check in with the client about their feedback. It specifies the reason for the check-in.
Great. So check in with a brief contact for updates, reassurance, or maintaining connection. Lighter than follow up, perhaps.
Often, yes. More about general status than resolving a specific prior issue.
Makes sense. Okay, the final phrasal verb in this section is used in the statement. I blocked off an hour for our meeting.
Block off. Interesting one.
What does block off mean here?
It means to reserve a period of time in your schedule or calendar specifically for a particular purpose, making that time unavailable for anything else. You're essentially creating a block in your day that's dedicated.
So you're marking it in your diary, digitally or physically, so you don't schedule anything else then.
Exactly. You're protecting that time slot.
How does it compare to just saying, I reserved an hour, or I scheduled an hour?
It's quite similar, but block off often feels more definitive, more about making the time unavailable to others or to other tasks. Reserve is common, but as the video notes, maybe slightly more common for reserving physical things like tables or rooms, although it can be used for time. Schedule focuses on putting it in the schedule, while block off emphasizes making it unavailable for other things.
Okay, so it highlights the unavailability aspect, like putting up a barrier around that time slot.
Right. That's a good way to think about it, yeah. Pronunciation. The ed in blocked, again, sounds like T, and it links smoothly to off. Blocked off.
I blocked off an hour.
Got it.
Now, the comments section for this one was really interesting because it showed different meanings.
Ah, yes. Phrasal verbs often have multiple personalities.
Definitely. Someone wrote, I blocked off my mornings to speak in English. That fits our scheduling meaning, perfectly dedicating that time.
Reserving personal development time. Good use.
But then another comment, the police blocked off the street because of the wreck.
Completely different meaning. There, block off means to create a physical barrier to prevent access to a physical space, using police tape, cars, barricades, etc.
So, same phrasal verb, but one is about time and a schedule, the other is about physical space. Context again.
Absolutely crucial. The particle off can imply separation or making something inaccessible, whether it's time or a street.
There were quite a few comments using the scheduling sense, too. I block off an hour for speaking in English. I have to block off some time this week to file my taxes.
Yeah, very common for managing tasks and appointments, allocating specific time.
And someone combined phrasal verbs again. Shops sold out of toilet paper during COVID, so I had to block off some time to go out of town to buy it.
Excellent real-life connection there. Blocking off time specifically to deal with the consequences of things being sold out.
Life. And another, I block off an hour for this class every Tuesday at 8 a.m. Shows routine scheduling. I block off an hour for shopping in the morning.
All great examples of reserving time for a specific activity. The video also mentions set aside time as a good synonym.
Yeah, I set aside an hour for the meeting. Very similar meaning to block off time.
Interchangeable in most cases, I'd say.
Okay, so block off primarily for reserving time in a schedule, making it unavailable for other things. But watch out for the physical barrier meaning too.
You've nailed it.
That covers the meetings and appointments section. Set up, follow up with, check in with, and block off. Really practical stuff for work or organizing anything, really.
Very much so. These are bread and butter phrases for professional and organized personal life.
Now, before we kind of wrap things up and review, there was an interesting point mentioned relating to the comments on the original Jay Forrest English video.
Oh, yes. What was that?
The creator noted that learners were actually asking for dedicated question time, like a Q&A session at the end of future lessons.
That's fantastic. It shows real engagement, doesn't it? Learners wanting to clarify doubts, explore edge cases, really dig deeper.
It really does. It's a sign they're not just passively watching, but actively trying to understand and integrate the information. That's great to see.
It absolutely is. That kind of feedback loop is invaluable for both the teacher and the learners.
Definitely. Okay, so as we approach the end of this particular deep dive into these everyday phrasal verbs, let's do a quick sort of recap of the value here.
Sounds good.
We've looked at verbs for socializing, like take up a hobby, bring up a topic, get along with people, and unexpectedly run into someone.
Covering those initial interactions and relationship dynamics.
Then we shifted to the cafe, dealing with situations like items being sold out of, deciding to cut back on something, trying out a new item, or maybe just picking at your food if you're not keen.
Real-world scenarios using very common, natural-sounding language.
And finally, the world of meetings and appointments, where we need to set up meetings, follow up with people afterwards, check in with them periodically, and block off time in our schedules.
A really practical toolkit covering various common domains of daily life.
Exactly. And the main takeaway, I think, is that understanding and, more importantly, using these seemingly small 2- or 3-word combinations can just make such a difference.
Huge difference. It's often one of the key things that separates intermediate speech from more advanced, natural-sounding fluency.
Yeah.
Using phrasal verbs confidently and correctly.
It bridges that gap, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So we really want to encourage you, our listeners, to, well, not just listen today, but to actively try incorporating some of these. Pick 1 or 2 that resonated with you. Maybe take up something new this week and tell someone about it. Or consciously cut back on something and use the phrase when thinking or talking about it. Or follow up with someone you need to contact again.
That active use is where the learning really cements itself. Don't be afraid to make mistakes initially. That's part of the process. Just try them out.
Exactly. Practice is absolutely essential.
And building on that, maybe a final thought for our listeners to kind of chew on after we finish.
Ooh, I like that. A provocative thought. Go for it.
Well, thinking about all these verbs we've discussed, the socializing ones, the cafe ones, the meeting ones, which specific ones do you, the listener, predict you'll actually use most often in your own life based on your routines, your job, your social interactions?
That's a good reflective question. Makes it personal.
And maybe a step further. Can you think of other common everyday situations we didn't cover where these phrasal verbs, or perhaps very similar ones, might also pop up? Where else might you run into problems or need to set up something different or cut back on other things?
Ah, nice. Pushing the application beyond our specific examples. How does understanding these unlock deeper comprehension elsewhere?
Exactly. Thinking about how these patterns extend, it encourages that deeper processing and helps connect the dots in the language.
Love it. Great questions to mull over.
Hopefully useful.
And I'm sure they will be.
Yeah.
Well, that really brings us to the end of our exploration for today. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
Yes. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in.
We really appreciate you spending your valuable time with us, digging into these sometimes tricky, but always useful bits of English.
Hope you found it helpful.
So until our next deep dive.
Take care and keep practicing.
That's it.